Classification, or sorting product by weight, is a useful tool for a number of industrial processes. The primary application involves dynamic balancing of components, fan blades, engine components, and most any product that spins or oscillates would be quickly out of balance if in-motion parts were not properly sorted. The classification program has several setup parameters that allow the user to perform manual or automated sorting of components. Various menu settings define the user interface and how data concerning the process is actually documented. There are both basic and optional components of the menu that need to be addressed. First of all, we want to define whether or not data is lost in the event of a power loss or if the scale is turned off. We'll want to define the number of weight classes for the classification. That would be either 3 or 5. And finally, we want to define how those class weight values are input. Are they input manually, individually, via keyboard? Are they input by setting a representative sample on the platform? Or do we allow the indicator to determine the actual parameters based on the value of the first? With the optional Unicom board, there are a number of different options that could automate the process. We would have the ability to set outputs from the scale or from an external command. We can define these output control lines as active always or active only on stability. And then we can tell the indicator whether or not we want an automated printout after each sample, what data we want printed after each sample, or no printout at all. For purposes of the demonstration, we're going to look at the basic parameters that need to be addressed for a manual sorting process. Now, before we begin the actual demonstration, we need to enable the classification program. That's done in the usual manner by turning the scale off and then back on, and during the digit check, press TAR. When you see APPL appear, press TAR, and then use the function key until you scroll to a stair-step shaped icon. Once that's achieved, press the TAR, and that locks in the classification program. We're now ready to set our first parameter, which is to ensure that no weight data is lost when the scale is off. That would be parameter 3.8.1. Then we'll define our application as 5 weight classes. That'll be menu option 4.8.2. Press TAR. And then finally, we'll define how we're going to input the values. In this case, we'll input each class manually via keyboard. Hold the TAR button to exit to the weighing mode. Now we're ready, once the weight display appears, to start entering our class data. Press the OK key and you'll see a flashing cursor in the upper left-hand corner. This means you're ready to put in the first class. Now today we'll be doing fan blades, so we're going to put in some parameters that will represent each class. Class 1 is 418.5. Press OK and we're ready to put in class 2. 419 will be our next parameter. And then 419.5 will represent the third parameter. So we're setting up a 0.5 gram class difference for each class. And the last parameter will be input, will be 420. Press OK. The scale automatically returns to the weighing mode. Now we're ready to begin testing some fan blades to see if they are within tolerance of one another. As you can see, the first blade had a class value number 4, which will be put in presumably the number 4 bin. We have a class 1 blade. We have a class 2 blade. And then a slightly heavier blade would be set up in bin number 3 or class 3. And the last blade would be class 1. To prove that we have retained all the data, we turn the scale off turn it back on, and instead of going into the weighing mode, you'll see it goes immediately into the classification mode. Now, to absolutely ensure that no class data is lost, it's probably a good idea to disable the clear function key. The clear function key will delete all data in memory, even if we have the power off prevention enabled. So it would be a good idea to go into the utility menu and disable the clear function key. That would mean that only a supervisor entering the menu could make changes. This concludes our demonstration of the classification program.